Namaste, Suswagatam, and welcome to Words of Wisdom Gyan Ganga on our Virat Hindustan Sangam social media channels. As you know, we are simultaneously beaming this program on various social media platforms. And I'm happy to tell you that on our last episode, last Sunday, that was episode number 243 on the British citizenship of Rahul Gandhi, we had a viewership of 128,000 viewers across the globe. Today we are on episode number 244 and we will be discussing in the next 45 minutes. The topic is, was Modi's visit to Ukraine an admission that his foreign policy has failed? And Dr. Subramanian Swamy and the team will be discussing this important topical issue. And it is with these words over to Dr. Subramanian Swamy. Thank you. Dhanyavad.
Thank you, Jagdish. Now, this is a subject which requires every Indian, particularly those who are aware of the situation of politics and international affairs, that what has happened is actually a tragedy for Indians and a tragedy for India. Mr. Modi suddenly goes to Ukraine. Now, when the Russian troops crossed into the international boundary of Ukraine and occupied a vast area, at that time, Modi said nothing at all. In fact, at that time, we went even to the extent of overriding the American and the international, and particularly the Western democratic countries' sanctions on Russia for having done this. We violated that and bought all the things that had been sanctioned, and we bought it from the Russians. Now, what really motivated Modi to go to Ukraine? Well, I think there was an international atmosphere that Modi created out of the fact that Nepal has literally handed over most of the important parts of foreign policy, bilateral foreign policy, to China. Second, Bhutan, which was supposed to be our most loyal friend, they've also now started equivocating with India on China, because China has occupied a fairly substantial part. Then you come to Bangladesh today. The elements of Chinese support, people who are pro-Chinese, they're all over the place. They will be soon in the new government after the elections are held, and therefore that's also gone. Sri Lanka almost went. But then I must claim credit that I personally spent a lot of time and brought around, and Rajapaksa was convinced that India can be a friend of Sri Lanka. What about Maldives? Maldives, Chota Island. They booted out your soldiers, those soldiers which they themselves had invited, because there was a coup. And during Rajiv Gandhi's time, we sent the forces and restored democracy. And there, the newly elected president of Maldives, he gives a marching order, leave by such and such date. And we left. We should have at that time toppled his government. Because when you break an agreement, you have a right to do that. So, everywhere. Then, of course, his handling of China, the whole world knows it. Only Indians don't know it. That Chinese have calmly walked into the undisputed Indian territory in Ladakh and occupied 4,064 square kilometers, and now about to take over a major lake which divides India and Tibet. He's the Pangong Lake, as it's called. They have already gone over it. They have crossed it, and if they take over through Chushul in Ladakh, then the only military air base that India has in Ladakh will go to the Chinese. So the whole world was looking at this, and I don't know who persuaded. I think they both, many of our prime ministers in the past, they thought that if they suddenly walk into a zone like Russia and Ukraine fighting, they can create an image by which they might become a candidate for peace prize. So that may be a craze, but I would say that what happened in Ukraine is something for everybody to know. Ukraine cannot say to Modi, if he says that I want to come to your country, they come along. But once you come, how you have spoken, treated him. There is a picture of both of them embracing, but that is because Modi has gone and embraced him. You can't expect him to push Modi down. But in every matter, he criticized India in the presence of Modi, saying that you took oil from Russia when there was an international sanction barring any democratic country from taking buying oil from Russia. Yeah, but you may say we had a need and we have a national interest. Then don't go to Ukraine. I mean, this you did when the Ukraine was invaded by Putin's armies, and they killed so many people. Of course, now thanks to the assistance of the Americans, the Ukrainians are fighting bravely. They have now crossed into Russian territory, and their planes have gone and bombed parts of Russia. And in fact, Putin himself now seems to be in danger of losing his position. So that could bring about change. But what is the value for Mr. Modi to go? Was there an invitation to come and mediate? No, not at all. It was several times our Foreign Affairs Ministry speaking to the Ukrainian ambassador in Delhi, saying that he would like to come, he'd like to, and ultimately, what was discussed, what was declared, nothing. There's not anybody. Everybody is writing. Brahma Charanani has written a very fine article on this, which people should read. So I would say the most important thing is that the situation is such that Modi has shamed India. He went to Ukraine, and Ukraine gave him a piece of their mind. He couldn't reply, and he comes back. What was the need for Modi to go at this early stage after losing his majority in parliament? And with all these problems that are there even in our borders, we have so many issues. Take Mizoram or the other states in the corner of Assam. All these have to be solved. He hasn't gone to any of these parts in India, but he decides to go. Or he should have gone to Bangladesh. If he had turned up in Bangladesh with the Indian army, saying that yes, we want to protect the Hindus who are being brutalized, killed, murdered, etc., and we want to sit down and find out why this coup took place. He didn't do that. So it appears to me that what we have to look at is that Modi is run out of any ideas that he has been in the past. They never worked out. BRICS Bank, he created a BRICS Bank, and he wanted me to be the president of the BRICS Bank. That's because the Chinese was also of the same view, and other countries were also the same view. And as usual, he wanted to claim the credit, but I declined it. I told him that I will never go and live abroad again after having lived so many years in America at Harvard University. And I left and came to India I'm not going to settle anywhere. So much pressure. Even Amit Shah called me to his residence to try put pressure. But this shamelessness that you allow China to take over your land, you allow more small islands to give you a kick, and then you go abroad and without an agenda, without having discussed with anybody, there are a large number of intellectuals in our country. They could have called them and had a discussion and found out whether he should go, and if he should, what he should do. How can he be a mediator? He is known as a stooge of the Russians. That's what the impression that is being created about Modi. Let him understand that. He did not take a stand earlier when the Chinese walked into, and then after that, when there were sanctions on Russia, he bought, violating those sanctions of the Western world. And so I think the president of Ukraine never hesitated. At every stage, he criticized India for what it did. And now that Modi has come back, it would be best to say that India demands Russia to pull its troops out of Ukraine. Then he might be able to recover some of the prestige, and India's loss of prestige could be overcome. But at the moment, what we have seen here is that it's an utter collapse. And on this issue alone, I would say in any other country, there would have been a demand that he resign as having failed. For instance, Chamberlain went to negotiate with Hitler, and there was a furor. But he said, I have gone for peace. And next day, Hitler invaded Czechoslovakia. So, but that man resigned immediately. Chamberlain resigned, and that's how Churchill became the prime minister. So the same way, I think Mr. Modi, in order to keep the honor of Bharat Mata, he should resign immediately and hand it over to the senior most minister in his cabinet. Over to you, Jagdish.
Thank you, Dr. Swamy, for that opening insight into the Modi's Ukraine visit and his failure on the foreign policy. Now, I would like Arvind, if he has, and I would require Arvind to some discussion in Hindi, so our viewers across India and other parts also understand it better in Hindi. Okay, Arvind, over to you.
डॉक्टर स्वामी, आपने सारी जो वस्तु स्थिति है उसको सही परिप्रेक्ष्य में रखा है। मैं मोदी की जो प्रणाली है, जो उनकी नीति है, विदेश नीति खास तौर से, उसके बारे में आपसे पूछना चाहता हूं कि जब जवाहरलाल नेहरू प्रधानमंत्री थे तो टीटो और नासिर के साथ मिलके उन्होंने गुट निरपेक्ष आंदोलन शुरू किया था, नॉन अलाइंड मूवमेंट। नॉन अलाइंड मूवमेंट जब शुरू हुआ था तो दुनिया दो हिस्सों में बटी हुई थी, दुनिया के दो पोल थे। अब दुनिया मल्टीपोलर हो चुकी है और नैम एज ए पॉलिसी फेल हो चुकी है पूरी दुनिया में। मोदी जी बार बार जहां कहीं भी दो देशों के बीच में डिस्प्यूट है, वहां जाके अपने आप, जैसे आपने अभी बताया कि बिना किसी आमंत्रण के वो यूक्रेन गए और उन्होंने पूरी दुनिया को यह दिखाने की कोशिश की कि हम दोनों तरफ हैं, हम आज के अखबार में एक हेडलाइन थी कि इंडिया इज फॉर पीस, इंडिया शांति की, ना रशिया के साथ है ना यूक्रेन के साथ है। मैं रामधारी सिंह दिनकर की दो लाइनें पढ़ना चाहता हूं कि समर शेष है नहीं पाप का भागी केवल ब्याद, और जो तटस्थ हैं समय लिखेगा उनका भी अपराध। The injustice is being inflicted on Ukraine by Russia, is being ignored by India. And this is what these lines are for, that you cannot remain neutral anymore. अगर आप तटस्थ हैं और इधर भी हैं उधर भी हैं तो आपका कोई स्टैंड नहीं है, आपकी कोई नीति नहीं है, ये मोदी जी ने बताया। इसीलिए आज के इस कार्यक्रम का शीर्षक है वेदर इंडियाज फॉरेन पॉलिसी हैज फेल्ड। तो मुझे लगता है कि ये जवाहरलाल नेहरू के बाद हमारे साथ प्रधानमंत्री हुए थे पंडित अटल बिहारी वाजपेयी, और अटल बिहारी वाजपेयी जी ने भी इसी तरह की नीति अपनाने की कोशिश की थी, वो भी फेल हुए थे। अपने आप को दुनिया में शांति का मसीहा दिखाने के लिए, नोबेल पुरस्कार के लिए क्या अटल बिहारी वाजपेयी की नीति मोदी जी अपना रहे हैं इसलिए कि वो यूक्रेन के साथ भी हैं, रशिया के साथ भी हैं, और ये दिखाने के प्रयास कर रहे हैं कि हम दुनिया में शांति स्थापित कर रहे हैं। वार रुकवा दी पापा, ये जो जुमला चला था पूरे देश में, वो मोदी जी की इसी नीति के कारण चला था। तो मैं समझता हूँ मोदी जी अब विश्व गुरु बनने की चाहत में, शांति का मसीहा बनने की चाहत में एक ब्लंडर कर रहे हैं, और ये ब्लंडर भारत के लिए अच्छा नहीं है। मैं चाहता हूं कि डॉक्टर स्वामी इस विषय पे आप 2 कमेंट करें।
देखिए, जिन लोगों ने ये जो तुष्टिकरण इतिहास में की, मैंने उसमें आपको एग्जाम्पल भी दिया था, वो है चेम्बरलेन, जो हिटलर के साथ कहा कि मैं पीस के लिए जा रहा हूँ, और पीस हिटलर ने उसको जाते ही चेकोस्लोवाकिया की हजम कर ली उन्होंने। तो मैं ये कहता हूँ कि इनको पहली चीज ये है कि इनकी क्षमता तो है ही नहीं, क्योंकि पहले तो रशिया के में न्यूट्रल नहीं है। ये रशिया के मैं कह सकता हूँ कि रशिया का एक जूनियर पार्टनर के रूप में जाना जाता था। हम भी उस समय बताते थे कि ऐसे मत करो, इतना मत करो। जब सारा दुनिया में सैंक्शन लगी थी, जब यूक्रेन का शुरू हुआ था, उस समय मोदी ने उसका भंग करके अपने के लिए सस्ते दाम पर ऑयल मिलेगी, यानी पैसा जाएगी रशिया को, ये कर उसी दिन इनकी इंटरनेशनल कैरेक्टर खत्म हो गई थी। तो आप जो बता रहे हैं उनको सुधारना, मोदी को सुधारना असंभव है। क्यों? वो किसी की बात सुनते नहीं है, और जो उनके जो फॉरेन मिनिस्टर हैं और या नेशनल सिक्योरिटी मिनिस्टर हैं, मिनिस्टर लेवल में हैं, इनकी तो ये तो चपरासी हैं। इन्होंने इनको पूछा भी, मैं नहीं जानता। इसीलिए जो हम आज देख रहे हैं, इसमें एक ही रास्ता है कि हमारी पार्टी बीजेपी सब मिलकर के और संघ के आशीर्वाद के साथ इसको इस्तीफा देना चाहिए, जैसे चेम्बरलेन के लिए कहा था। चेम्बरलेन ने जब वापस आए, थोड़े दिन में जब हिटलर ने चेकोस्लोवाकिया के लेने के बाद पार्लियामेंट में हल्ला गुल्ला हुआ और उसकी इस्तीफा मांगी, इस्तीफा दी गई। उसके बाद हिटलर के लिए मुकाबला करने के लिए चर्चिल आए। यहाँ तो कोई बोलने वाला ही नहीं है। पार्लियामेंट में कोई होता है हल्ला गुल्ला करके विपक्ष चली जाती है और बीजेपी के लोग सब चूहे जैसे बैठे होते हैं। तो और अखबार वाले भी उसी प्रकार से हैं। इसमें विश्लेषण होना चाहिए था। जो भी इतने टीवी का स्टेशंस हैं हमारी, इंडिया टुडे, ये सारे लोगों को सेमिनार्स करनी चाहिए थी, परंतु वो ये इसी लिपापोती करने वाले लोगों को ही लाए। तो हमारी देश में ये गिरावट मोदी ने करा ऐसा मैं नहीं कहूंगा, क्योंकि इंदिरा गांधी ने भी की थी, जवाहरलाल नेहरू ने भी की थी, और इन्होंने भी वही किया है। तो ये इस मंशा को लड़ने के लिए, इस मंशा को ठीक करने के लिए हमें मोदी गेट आउट, ये एक स्लोगन लगा के मोदी चले जाओ, ये कहना चाहिए, क्योंकि उन्होंने अल्पमत में होने के बाद भी भारत देश का अपमान किया।
रमेश, योर नेक्स्ट क्वेश्चन।
स्वामी, अल्पमत में तो नरसिम्हा राव भी थे। जब नरसिम्हा राव सरकार बनी, वो भी अल्पमत की सरकार थी, लेकिन नरसिम्हा राव ने जिस प्रकार के आर्थिक सुधार इस देश में शुरू किए, वो एक ऐतिहासिक कदम था। वो इस देश के आर्थिक इतिहास में स्वर्ण अक्षरों से लिखा जाएगा 1991। तो
क्योंकि
होना कोई कमजोरी नहीं है।
हाँ, मैं मिनिस्टर रैंक पोजीशन में था, आप तो जानते ही हैं, आप भी हमारे साथ ऑफिस में थे। तो उन्होंने यासिर अराफात को बुलाया है और यासिर अराफात को फिर विवश किया कि तुम्हें इजराइल से दोस्ती करनी है, और फिर उसके बाद सुलह हुई थी, एक पीस ट्रीटी हुई थी। तो इन्होंने क्या किया, आपको पढ़ना चाहिए जो यूक्रेन के जो प्रधान राष्ट्रपति हैं, जिन्होंने क्या बोला है उसका तो यहाँ अखबार में आया ही नहीं। वो आप इंटरनेशनल पेपर्स में आपको मिल सकती है, उससे ही हम लोगों को शर्म आएगी बड़ी पैमाने में।
Ramesh, you are having your question.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Jagdish. Dr. Swamy, very strong words, and I think hopefully Modi listens to what you're saying. And I, based on what Arvind just asked, the timing of the visit is completely messed up. I don't know what was the purpose of the visit, number one. And number two, when he went to Ukraine, he got schooled by Zelensky. I mean,
yes.
Ukraine is such a small country. It's not even, I mean, from a perspective of economy and size, nothing compared to even one state in a couple of the states in India. But why are you going to an international, when you go for a meeting, no agenda? I mean, is he going on a holiday, or is he got a, because I did see a joint statement or a statement of purpose. The irony, Dr. Swamy, when I saw this, was he said that, okay, I'm going to be here and I'm going to broker peace between you and Russia. Is it a joke, Dr. Swamy? Here, in your own country, there is China that has occupied thousands of square kilometers of land. You are not able to negotiate with them to even get back your own land. You're trying to negotiate peace in another country that's like 7,000 miles away. And
good point.
What is the purpose, Dr. Swamy? Seriously, you go to Russia, you go fall in Putin's feet, come back and say, oh, great visit. Then you come back and 2 months later, you go and see Zelensky. You do the same nautanki and come back. How are you going to broker peace? On what basis, Dr. Swamy? Seriously, on what basis can India or even Modi broker peace in this case, Dr. Swamy? That's what I want to find out. Then I'll give you my US perspective on this.
Yeah, fair enough. I would say start by in our Northeast. There's so much to be done of bringing people together. Why not in Manipur? All this killing is going on. He has not even gone once to Manipur. And there are other places where he can do something about it. But he is, I would say, the most latest is Bangladesh. Bangladesh is someone for whom the Indian soldiers shed blood.
Correct.
And there, the promise was that it will be a secular government and it will be will not discriminate against any religion. Now the exact opposite is happening. Why are you not telling the Bangladeshi so-called government at the present that if one Hindu is touched because he is a Hindu, then we will have to send our army, because we have so many Hindus in our country, we are answerable to them. And you cannot do this, especially after we have saved you from Pakistan. We broke up Pakistan into two, so that there is a Bangladesh, and the language they speak is an Indian language called Bengali. Is there anything Bangladesh has which is they can say is independently our itihas, our past? None of it. It's all Indian. They are all. They can only trace it to India. So at this stage, when you can't do anything in your own backyard, why did you go? And having gone and got mud on your face, which has been hidden in our media, but you can read it in all the international papers, and you feel ashamed. What is the alternative? The parliament debating doesn't seem to going anywhere. I will say the public, which has reduced the size of BJP because they are fed up with him, and now the animosity has grown. I'll tell you, we are in the party BJP is in a real soup because when these elections take place in Maharashtra and other places, you will see that will again come to grief, and then the whole dream of a Hindu Rashtra or a Hindutva, all this will just be gone for at least another 50 years. That is what is my concern. Not that he got humiliated and came back. That's bad enough. But the fact is that India is flapping, full of fat only, and anybody can walk in. That's what the extremist Muslims say. What is India? We controlled. We ruled it for 1,000 years. We have hardly 100 people, 100 million people by conversion. They converted our people and then subjugated us. So that should never happen, is what Ambedkar used to say. And that should never happen means that people who can land us in this, they have no right to remain. In any case, RSS has a rule that the pracharaks who become hold any office in government, they have to retire when they're 75. And on 17 September, Modi becomes 75. So I think, I hope RSS will also tell him to go and, go out of the prime ministership. But we cannot, our party cannot go on like this with one defeat after another. We have been defeated by even Bhutan. Bhutan has told us, yes, we will allow China to come in the northern part. What could you do? There was a time Bhutan couldn't even breathe without asking our permission. And there was a time when Bhutan wanted to merge. And that time, Jawaharlal Nehru, like a big sadhu, he said, no, we don't want more land. We already got lots of land. Nepal, they speak the same language as us. They have the same religion as us. But they are telling you, go to hell. We are with the Chinese. I mean, how many things we have lost in these last 10 years of Mr. Modi's rule? So therefore, I would say this is the only cure I can suggest today to you, which you asked for, is that the whole country should start saying, Modi, resign and go.
Dr. Swamy, just as a follow-up, Modi, I mean, it is being reported. I don't know if, because Modi never says in a press conference or anything. He says India is ready to work as a friend to resolve this war. Friend of who, Dr. Swamy? Is it Putin?
Obviously, because the other side has already said, we don't trust you.
Dr. Swamy, what will be the impact? I mean, I know it's speculation at this point in time. It's hypothetical. I do not think Russia is going to take this visit very lightly, because Russians they don't like this duplicity normally. So it has been proven that's how Russia operates. They don't like duplicity, and it is going to. I mean, I feel that there is going to be an impact. What is your take on it, Dr. Swamy? What would be Russia's reaction to this visit? Well, because there's no need for it, but anyway, still is there.
No, you see, there are a number of issues before Russia can react, because the Ukraine has already through planes and drones and so on have come across the international border and taken parts of Russia. And you can see it in American press. It is not reported in our press. I don't know why. So the Russians will be certainly very angry with him, because he's gone against all that he was claiming to be with them and all this stuff. But at a time when the Russians are getting humiliated, by Ukraine, at that time you go, and then the Ukrainian president gives you a huge lecture. It's all the things that you should have done, have not done. I think the Russians will be boiling. Their blood will be boiling. The ordinary Russian patriotic person's blood will be boiling. I don't think we have to worry about Putin at all. Putin, I don't even know is going to last very long.
But Dr. One last point.
Ah.
In my opinion, they're likely to be Trump coming back again. The thing by Modi is not going to be looked upon good, because the US has spent $200+ billion in this war. They pumped so much money into this war, and two, there is no outcome yet. So I think the first task is, based on what Trump has told us, been telling the people in the US, is stop the war. But I really don't see how India is going to benefit, because there are two things, Dr. So one, ill-timed visit. I don't know how India can play a role. Plus, India continues to buy oil, pay for S-400 that never been delivered, will never be delivered. I don't think they're going to see it at all. All this is going to be a negative impact for Modi. What is your take on this, Dr. Swamy? It's a speculation, but what is your take on this?
I will tell you that if I'll start a little one step backwards. If the present vice president of the United States becomes the president, she has an intense dislike for Modi, because she, her ideological leanings. And last time she didn't want to meet him, and Modi pleaded with the president of the United States, and then he prevailed on her. But she said, as protocol, I have to go and see him. I will not go to see him. He can come and see me. And he went and met her in her office. And nothing came out. No joint statement, no this thing. Now, that was such a big insult. But India at that time was still in the seventh heaven about Modi. So nobody took notice of it. And our press, which goes on government expense to all these places, naturally they are not going to publish all this. And otherwise there's press censorship. So today, when you say that with all this, I think, by the way, from what I have heard, I don't know, Ramesh Swamy might be able to correct me if I'm wrong. In the United States, if Trump comes, he is not going to be friendly with Modi.
Absolutely.
Because yes, he feels betrayed by him, whether you like it or not, whether you like Trump or not. This is Trump's psychology, that he's a fighter, and if somebody betrays him, then he goes after him much more than others. So I would say today India is in a very, very bad situation. The Chinese can walk into your country anytime. If the elections in Kashmir go badly for BJP, I think you will find that the Pakistanis will infiltrate that. Nobody is going to come to help you on that. You have in South India a lot of money coming from I don't know where, but there is a huge effort to convert Hindus into other religions, particularly the Islamic religion. And so we have no national security ideology at all. What is it that we stand in? Is India? What is India? India can be any group of people? No. We gave away parts of India so that we can, as Hindus, live safely. And so Jawaharlal Nehru went out of his way, which Ambedkar opposed very strong, and he said that you will come to grief on it. He said that if you are going to have Pakistan, then there is no reason why you should have any Muslims in India. Because the division, according to the resolution passed by the United Kingdom's Parliament, was that there will be a Hindu India and a Muslim Pakistan. That is there explicitly put out. Now, we said, no, everybody can come. Now, Gandhi had a theory, which of course he could not implement, which is that once the British go, then he will ensure that Pakistan is also brought back into part of India. And he had made some discussions with Jinnah, and Jinnah was good for the Muslim population to get them international recognition and so on. But after that, after you know that Jinnah was not a hardcore Muslim. He was a totally anglicized person, and he was also sick, and he soon thereafter. So why I'm telling you this is that there is recognition needed. It's not a question of getting rid of Modi alone. It's a question of a mindset. You want India to be what? You want it to be a world power. There's a way of doing that. Rajiv Gandhi came close to it, but then he got entangled in this Bofors thing, and the whole thing blew up. Otherwise, Rajiv Gandhi had really built the army and particularly navy in a very big way, and he was the one who sent those planes to Maldives and kicked out all the terrorists who had come and taken over that small country. Because I was present, I know, and he kept me in the loop, and I know how he was absolutely clear that if this thing goes through in Maldives, then South India will be in trouble, and I have to do something which is drastic. And he sent the army. Nobody has even today recognized what Rajiv Gandhi did. After all, Rajiv Gandhi had, of course, other issues, Bofors and so on. And nevertheless, these are events which have to be repeated so that the people will develop a mindset. In our country today, now what happened in Ukraine, in another 10 days, there will be no reference to Modi having gone and betrayed India in Ukraine.
Dr. Swamy, I want to know this failure of Modi's foreign policy. What has been, according to you, in the last 10 years, the issues of the foreign policy in being planned in Delhi, and BJP's outlook and the RSS Parivar's outlook, and how is Modi handling this issue for the last 10 years for the betterment or better understanding of our viewers? Can you just analyze it? How are these foreign policy decisions really taken and implemented in the last 10 years, and your insight into this type of policies?
Well, see, the issue is that is there a body which sits with the Prime Minister also there and discussions take place? No, nothing of the kind. Jaishankar comes like a chaprasi. So does the National Security Advisor. And they hand him some piece of paper which is in English, which I'm sure that he won't be able to comprehend fully unless it's translated into Hindi. And that is the way. Has there been any document put out? Now, I again go back, but I don't want the Indians to forget. When the Chinese had entered into India and taken over undisputed land in Ladakh, what did Modi say? Koi aaya nahi, koi gaya nahi. Now, in other words, he was betraying India at that time by saying that koi aaya nahi. Ask him to allow all of us to go and see. There's a ban. I have tried to go to Ladakh, to those parts where the Chinese have entered. When I asked the ministers, you know that I have actually gone for to the right to information thing, RTI, all the way top, every level refused to give me how much land the Chinese have taken which doesn't belong to them from Ladakh. Say, no, this we cannot give. Even today, I have gone and appealed against all these people's not acting on giving me my answer. You see, right to information is very strict about of enforcing that the information should be given. And RTI has put it out also. And but I am unable to get anyone. I've gone to court finally, and the court naturally they're going and say no, a little adjournment, this adjournment, that adjournment. We have our officers have gone on international conference. This kind of thing, because is going on in your own country. RTI has been so mangled that you can't get information anymore. What is the difficulty in saying that the Chinese have not occupied any territory of India? Or saying that they have come? Of course, if this Modi's government says that they have come and occupied 4,064 square kilometers of undisputed Ladakh territory, depriving our farmers in Ladakh to take their sheep for grazing, they can't do it anymore. They're all economically suffering. So why is it that no newspaper pins Mr. Modi and says, tell us how much the Chinese have come? No one won't tell you. Even the Nepalis have infringed on your territory. Bhutan has said frankly that all the claims that we had about our border is not acceptable. Bangladesh has had disputes with us, even though they're supposed to be friendly. Only people who don't have any disputes with us is Sri Lanka, and that, of course, is because of me, not because of Mr. Modi. At a time when they were trying to fight the LTT, I supported Mr. Rajapaksa and others, and they are good enough to remember it. And therefore, there is a general sentiment today in Sri Lanka that we must have good relations with India. And all the leftists, everybody has now been, filtered away. So, again, to say that Maldives, what is it, Maldives? They were overtaken by a bunch of thugs, and India had to send its army to restore it. And then they requested at that time to place Indian Army, Air Force, Navy in their area, and which we did. And then somebody comes and says, get out. And we get out. And then Mr. Modi calls him up here and has a tea party with him. So this is not a question of what we should do. It's a question of what's the mindset which is proper. That is what why we have taken this topic today, as I explained to Jagdish, is that how many times are going to get kicked around by India? We were kicked around during the China 1962 war. Internationally, we were ostracized. Similarly, when it came to the butchering in Bangladesh, and we wanted to do something, where Mrs. Gandhi had to go and running to the Russians, but the Russians told her that you cannot make a new country. And so when our troops went near Dhaka, the Russians, the Soviet Union as it called then, told Mrs. Gandhi that you have to declare that the ceasefire will start now. But we had a Jew at that time, an Indian Jew, General Jacob. General Jacob. He pretended not to get these instructions, and he took the army inside and got 100,000 soldiers as prisoners, and he was court-martialed. But of course, he was a clever man, being a Jew. And he said in the thing, see, Mr. Manekshaw says, General Manekshaw says that he sent me by what is it? Telex. But he said there is no electricity, so nothing came to me. And it was proved to be right. So, and he was, then of course he joined BJP and we made him governor of Chhattisgarh. So, I'm saying that here, see, even on fundamentals, our chaps get, even Mrs. Gandhi got rattled when the 7th the United States Navy started entering the Bay of Bengal. And it is at that time the Russians' advice is that stop your army from moving forward, and we'll talk to the Chinese Americans to not to meddle with you. But it is General Jacob who gave you Bangladesh. It is not Mrs. Gandhi. It is not even Manekshaw. But the history is not written. So India is full of such things, you see.
So, Dr. Swamy, one more point. Modi said during this visit that India is the land of Buddha and we want peace. Unfortunately, I think the Prime Minister needs an education even in our glorious history and learn a little bit about Mahabharata also, where Dharma reigns supreme. You can't
Right.
just keep on saying peace, peace, peace. He's got Modi is in a point that we call Arjuna Vishada Yoga, constantly thinking what will happen to me, what will happen to me, what will happen to my brother, sister. I mean, constantly cowardice with no backbone. At least, thankfully, that they had Krishna there. But here, Dr. Swamy, in this era, in spite of Modi having people like you and many others telling him what to do, he's still not got out of the rut of thinking that we should not, declare war or take back what is rightfully ours. I don't see how Modi has got any say. It's pure hypocrisy to go to another country and say, "Oh, you please have peace," or broker peace. I think Modi should learn a few lessons, not from Gautam Buddha. Of course, there are teachings that might be valid, but more from Mahabharata, because that is the situation that India is in today. We have issues all across our borders. Look, take it Bangladesh, take it China, take it Nepal, take it Bhutan, take Pakistan, or even Maldives for that matter, Dr. Swamy, and a little bit of Sri Lanka, where China is again occupying. There's so much going on. That is the border. Inside the country, so many places are burning, left, right, and center. Not a single word about, as you said, Dr. Swamy, what's happening in Manipur, what's happening in the borders around China, what's happening in Bangladesh, what's happening with the Rohingyas streaming into India. You have so many problems within India. You're going and giving gyan to somebody else, Dr. Swamy. I mean, even within India, as you can see, the comments that are coming,
Yes.
people who really support Modi are also saying, what is the purpose of the visit, Dr. Swamy? At the bottom line, I don't see any purpose.
I know one shady purpose, and that is he was told that if he starts doing this, and the Russians also come along, and the Ukrainians also come along, and he can then put Makhan on the Americans, and they come along, he will get the Nobel Peace Prize. I am telling you from an insider that this was the motivation.
अरविंद जी ने कहा था पहले, अरविंद जी ने ऐसे ही ये मुद्दा उठाया था, but I don't think, Dr. Swamy, this peace prize and all we might get, I don't think they're going to give it to Modi. If Modi, in Tamil there is a saying, even if you do Sirasasanam and drink water, Modi is not going to get Nobel Prize. He might get a Nobel Prize for comedy, but definitely not for peace. He might get an Oscar for all you know, Dr. Swamy. I think he might get an Oscar for his fantastic acting. Arvind ji, aap kuch kehna chahte hain?
Yeah, Ramesh, you're right when you say that Modi is weak. Recently, the kind of actions that he has taken, rolling back the policies and decisions that he has taken on Waqf board, he has gone back. He has referred it to the committees. Broadcast bill, he has withdrawn, and now the new reformed bill will come. Even on lateral entry of officers in the government cadre, just because few people, 2 ministers criticized, he withdrew the policy. So Modi is known for...
Arvind ji, not only, these are all national issues. Also, I completely agree with you. When Infosys raises a voice against the GST, they pull it back. So right tomorrow, man on the street goes, says, I will not, this and that, suddenly you're going to withdraw the entire thing. What kind of a nonsense is this? A company, if it is liable to pay tax, they got to goddamn pay tax or go to the court. I mean, I'm just sorry for the digression, but overall I understand. Yes, overall I understand.
Many indications of his and he has a hatred for upper caste. I mean, even that Supreme Court judgment on scheduled caste and scheduled tribe outrightly was rejected without even a discussion. And this is very clear. And that's why when we look for alternative, Dr. Swamy says Modi has to go. But the question is, who will come in place of Modi? I mean, there are two competent ministers, Nitin Gadkari and Rajnath Singh, and unfortunately, both of them belong to upper caste. And this country is in such a caste equations these days that they hardly have any chance because for the caste which they belong to. Yes, Modi has failed. Dr. Swamy has said Modi has failed on foreign policy. You know, there was a Bollywood film where Ajay Devgan is riding two cars, I think Golmaal or something. So Modi is playing Ajay Devgan in a Bollywood film by riding Ukraine and Russia together. And Jaishankar says but China is very big, China is strong, and therefore we cannot fight China. I mean, such kind of foreign minister you have. I mean, somebody says that after Sushma Swaraj in 2019, we have not had a good foreign minister. Dr. Swamy has proved time and again, and with the argument and with a lot of evidence, that on economic front, Modi has failed. From 2016 onwards, our economy is going down the drain. 2016 onwards, it's now 8 years. And they say we are becoming the third largest economy. This mantra will not work. This mantra will not work.
Is this the one you're
He
referring
has
to?
failed on the issue of Hindus.
Is this the
Hindus'
one you're referring
temples
to?
have been taken over, but he has not raised a
By
voice
the
in
government.
favor of Hindus
The
in
temple
Bangladesh.
is taken over
So
by
on
the
all
government.
fronts he has failed. He has failed on all fronts. So the question is now the BJP has to decide, and the BJP's we all know the superpower comes from Nagpur. RSS has to decide when to replace Modi, and if 75 years is the criteria, then maybe once he attains the 75 years, then he should voluntarily retire, and maybe this is the time he should go himself and then look for an alternative. Thank you, Dr. Swamy. We have discussed this issue 3-4 times about Ukraine and Russia, but since Modi had visited both the countries recently, therefore it was very, very relevant to come back and revisit this issue. And thanks Jagdish and Ramesh Swamy. Thanks the technical team led by Ashish Shetty, Gadgi Rakesh, Ishwar Iyer, Swaminathan, Tejas Navalgul, Vishal Mehta, Ajesh Nair, and Gurudat Shetty Karakal. Sunday next, that is 1st of September, we'll be meeting once again with a new topic with Dr. Subramanian Swamy. Thank you very much. Till then, Namaskar, Jai Hind.
Jai Hind.